Alright guys, welcome back to Trey's Wildlife Adventures. I'm going to be doing a series, see what people like, and one of the things I'm thinking about doing, I'm going to start with this video, is kind of like behind the scenes of the TV show Gator Boys. Now this particular episode that we're going to be doing today is going to be Gator Boys Season 1, Episode 1. So if you want, stop the video, go back, watch it, or watch it after this video. And I even have like a little sneak thing to look out for. I'm going to talk about in it as well. The Gator Boys, the TV show, how it started and everything, is kind of an interesting story. Originally, Gator Boys was originally started by Jimmy, Paul. Were like the first two main guys before there was even a show on Animal Planet. Jimmy, Paul, and there was Jimmy's brother Andy, and a friend of Jimmy's and mine. His name is Richard. So it was those four guys. They were known as the Gator Boys, and they would go out into the Everglades and catch snakes and do things around the native village, and they would film it here and there, and they even made a T-shirt with a picture with all four of them on the logo and everything, and yeah, that's kind of like how they started the group Gator Boys. And then from there, Paul filmed doing all kinds of stuff, and he's really good at putting little videos together and editing them together, and he made what they call a scissor reel. In the TV show, reality show type thing, or any real show, they have what they call a sizzle reel, where a person will put together things that will be really awesome, action-packed, or funny, or scary, different things that you're looking for, and you jam it all into a video of like 1 or maybe 2 minutes long, and you would send it out to different production companies and shop your show. And that's how it was done. And Paul did that. He shopped it around, and didn't really get too many bites or anything on it. And then after that, basically, there's a really good friend of ours. His name is Manny Puig. He had his own TV show, and it was on the Outdoor Network. And Animal Planet went up to him, asked him, "Hey, we're looking for someone to do an alligator show." And they asked him, and he's like, "Well, you need to go see my friend Paul." And so they sent a crew to Paul at Holiday Park, and once they did that, they talked to Paul, and Paul's like, "Well, I got a partner. His name is Jimmy." And they were like asking about him, and he was they all thought he was very redneck, so they weren't too sure about it. And so what they did was they went ahead and filmed 1 or 2 episodes and put it together, and to see, it was like a pilot, to see if it would go. So the first episode is part of that pilot, and then I believe the second episode is too, but I'm not sure. I gotta watch that second episode to know. It's going to be an episode with Manny in the episode itself. So once we get to that one, we'll talk a little bit about that one. But that's how Gator Boys started, was basically a group of friends working together, hanging out, doing what they love. And they started doing, they finally, a friend convinced another group of people to check their friends out, and that's how it started. So you never know what life will throw you. So a lot of people out there, don't hate on people and things like that. Lift people up. And that's what life is all about. It's lifting everybody up, lifting up your friends, and just helping one another. And that's how Gator Boys pretty much started. I made some notes. I just watched the first episode. It has been so many years since I've even watched an episode of Gator Boys. One of my previous episode or YouTube thing I showed you guys was basically saying I didn't have cable. I had cable at the beginning for the first few episodes, I had some things happen in my life, and well, it was just, you had to cut corners to save money to be able to live. So that's what I did. I get rid of the cable. You can live without cable. Some people can't, but got rid of the cable, and so I didn't have cable a lot of the times while we were filming. So the first episode, I made some notes, so I'm going to look at these notes here. So it's Gator Boys Season 1, Episode 1. In the opening credits of the first episode or first season, they show Jimmy and Paul working with gators and things like that, and you'll see that in some of the shots, they're not wearing the same clothes as usual on the episode, and that's because they were using some of the clips from Paul's sizzle reels and some of his past stuff that he did, and they added that into the opening sequence. One of those things was they did a little. Paul was working with a gator from the native village, which is a small zoo in Hollywood, Florida. It's not there no more, but they opened it up with that gator. His name was Lunge. Lunge was almost close to about 13 feet long. He was one of our largest alligators at our facility, and it was Jimmy's first big gator he got to work with on a daily basis. And he was an awesome gator. The reason why he was called Lunge is because you go in there and what we would do is we would talk about alligators. We'd have little tours there, and Lunge was our bull alligator demonstration area. And in the bull alligator demonstration area, we would talk about alligator attacks. We'd talk about gator holes, because the gator would actually make a natural gator hole in the pen that we made for him. It was all natural, so he built himself his own natural gator hole. Explain about that. And that gator, like, he was a good 12, 13 feet. He would hide in like a little bit of water, and it was murky and dark, and when people would walk up, they wouldn't even know there was even an alligator in there. So they're thinking it's gonna be like a little alligator, but you go in there and you move things around, maybe even take a stick and just move the stick around in the water a little bit, and then once you touch them, that gator jump right up at you, and and then when you get him up and he's up out of the water with his mouth open, you touch him and he lunges towards you, and that's where he got his name Lunge, because of him, like how far that gator can lunge. Now that gator, Lunge, big gator. Last I heard, he was at a facility after Native Village closed down. They moved that gator Lunge out to an area called Billy Swamp Safari, and that's where I was working a couple of years ago. About 3 years ago or so, I was there, and they moved Lunge there, and we actually it was a 2,200 acre facility, and we had a area that was a natural pond that was completely fenced off, and it was like an acre or so fenced off, and that gator could live his life in that area. Last I heard, he was still doing good. He had some babies, and so he's got his own little family going on. So I don't know how he is now. I haven't seen or heard from him in a while. I know it's kind of weird to, hey, gator's going to call you up, and no. But I haven't been to that facility in quite a while. But yeah, keep an eye out on that opening scene about Lunge. You'll see Paul and that gator's moving around. You'll see a chain link fence and people looking. That's the native village. One of the other things that came on the episode is it's one of the catches is Paul calls Jimmy in the middle of the night. Hey, we got an alligator. And it was at an outside restaurant type place, and it was called Cafe 27. Cafe 27 was, if you are at the park of Holiday Park, when you leave the park, right across the street or the highway of 27, just a little bit north of Holiday Park, there's a cafe called Cafe 27. It's a truck stop slash gas station and like a bar, tiki bar type thing, a little outside restaurant. And I used to go there for like a lunch or a dinner, and they had some good food there. They had some good chicken wings there. But that was one of the first catches, which was on Gator Boys. It was kind of cool throwing that in there. Now, in the episode, they introduce a young kid in the show. His name is Scott. Scott's probably one of my favorite Gator Boys on the show. They have Scott building a divider. Now, in the while filming the TV show Gator Boys, a lot of times they have to come up with some kind of storyline, make it kind of interesting, and especially when we got different things going on. So the storyline that they put on was this whole fence divider thing. While Jimmy and Paul are out doing their gator catches and things, Scott is staying behind while Chris and Ashley are doing the shows. Scott's kind of doing maintenance and cleaning the pits, and he's supposed to be building this divider. Well, he builds this rinky-dinky divider. Totally not good. Paul goes over, smashes it. Then, I wasn't around during this filming, but Scott ends up building the fence one more time. Beautiful fence. And Paul doesn't like it and pushes it over. Chris is supposed to be helping him. Chris is not mechanically inclined. Is that true on the show? Yeah. As far as I know, Chris was not mechanically inclined on building things. Right now, Chris, he has his own YouTube show, his own little different things they do. And, I watch some of them from time to time. And right now, he has moved to an area which is close to a Palaca. It's like Central Florida area. And he's building up his own facility there. So I see some posts that they're making where they even say, hey, anybody want to help out to help build, volunteer time to help build enclosures. And they even say about Chris being mechanically inclined a little bit on that. I will say Chris is a super smart guy. He really knows his stuff, especially when it becomes more of college degree type, using all the scientific names and really getting into nitty gritty of all the biology of all the different aspects of wildlife. So he's a very smart guy, and I think eventually I'm going to reach out. I haven't talked to Chris in probably it's probably been maybe 3 years or so. I've spoken to him. So once you grow up and you start moving on, doing things, moving away, which I moved away. I'm living here in Central Florida now, and it's kind of crazy. I lived here, and then all of a sudden, Chris moves up just a little bit further north of me. He's probably about an hour and 20 minutes north of me. And so, you don't, you kind of lose touch, but, they're still friends. So when you reach out, you pick up like you never missed a step. So I'm going to reach out to them, and when I get some free time, I'll probably reach out and see if they could use a hand at building some things over there. So let's see here. So in the episode, it talks about people keep feeding the gators at the dock at Holiday Park. Now, that's very true. I worked at Holiday Park for a very long time. At Holiday Park, I wrestled gators, did airboat rides, was one of their tour guides out there. And yeah, people would go out there. It was open at night, it's like open to the public, and so people would go there and fish on the dock and chuck stuff to the gators. And here's the thing: what people need to understand is an alligator is naturally afraid of people. But once you start feeding that alligator, because you have to coax them to come in to eat, they're curious. But once they get that free handout, they're like, oh, I don't need to be afraid of this human. He's just going to throw food at me. And so people keep doing that and thinking that they're helping the gator out, but in return, they're actually harming that gator. They are losing their fear of humans coming right up to you. And as well as, now in that area where there's a lot of people, that gator's going to start coming up, and you pretty much, once that alligator accepts food from you, you signed your death warrant. Because here in the state of Florida, the nuisance alligator trappers, when they trap alligators, which that's what we did on Gator Boys, is we caught nuisance gators. And nuisance alligators, especially in that situation, a trapper does not get paid for catching alligators. The way the trapper makes his money, he can't charge for catching it. So he makes his money by selling the meat and the hide of the alligator. And with that, when you capture an alligator, a nuisance alligator, that alligator, through the state laws, is that gator has to, if it is over 4 feet, has to be put down or put into captivity. Those are the two things that can happen with an alligator over 4 foot that's deemed a nuisance gator. If it is under 4 foot, that alligator can be either put down, put in captivity, or relocated. Most trappers in the state of Florida, they do put the animal down, and because they gotta make money, and we understand that. And that's what the Gator Boys were all about. We weren't about making money. We just legit just wanted to help these alligators out. We would go out, catch these alligators on our own time, and bring them back to the park, and we would find homes for them. That was the purpose of Gator Boys. Now, with those gators, we found homes for them all over the state of Florida. We even took some to Mississippi, and also took some to Texas, I believe, is where some of these gators went. Now, let's see here. Okay, so in this episode, you start kind of seeing what the aspects of Gator Boys is. And part of it is we catch gators a little bit different than most trappers. Most trappers, they would set out baited hooks. And if you use a baited hook to catch a gator, no matter what, and we've tried different techniques of this. Once that alligator swallows that hook, and that hook is lodged into its stomach, it will not survive. The stomach's ripped open too much, and it's done. You have to put it down. So they would use baited hooks. Then they would also, the trappers would use nooses, which we use. We use nooses, and also they use fishing poles. Now, fishing poles, they're not using. Some trappers will use a fishing pole to hook on the inside. But a lot of them, they actually use the fishing pole, and they will cast that fishing pole over the line, over the alligator, reel it in, and hook into that gator, like snag that gator and reel it in so they can get a noose on it. On the show, we didn't show much of that, but that's, a lot of times how we have caught alligators is that way. It is a humane way, because a lot of times those hooks don't even really penetrate into the skin. They kind of just like grip because that skin's so thick, and you're just kind of like keeping it tight to get that gator close to that edge so you can get that rope around them, so then you can pull them all the way out. And Paul, he does it a different way. He goes out into the water, and this is like legit. We knew Paul. The way we met Paul for the Gator Boys is we met him at at the native village, and we met him through another guy. His name is Manny, which we talked about earlier, and Paul was known to us at the native village as the bicycle guy. So, yeah, he was the bicycle guy, triathlon guy, but he can swim and he can hold his breath for a very long time. And so that's how he would go out and catch those gators. He would go out, swim around, and use that noose. Basically, he would take like a 5-foot, 6-foot PVC pipe and thread it through the noose, the rope he would put through the pipe, and then he would use that to guide around and get it around the gator and tighten it. And once it's tight, then he can let go of that pipe, get further in on that rope, and swim it back to shore. And yeah, that's how he would do it. And so in that episode, you'll see him swimming, and they didn't get the audio, but sometimes he's quacking. He goes quack, 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 and he's splashing the water, trying to make himself look like an injured duck. And they'll bring the gators closer to him, and the gators try to eat him. Also in that episode, in the first time he goes out in the water at Holiday Park, you see him without a bandana. Okay, he's bald. All right. Now that baldness makes it look like an albino turtle swimming on the surface of the water. So I believe I think he uses that to his advantage to make the alligators think he's an albino turtle that will taste very, very scrumptious. And now let's see here. Paul swimming. Now in the episode, you're going to see we tape the gators. Okay, we take a piece of tape, we tape around the gator's mouth. Later on in the episodes or other episodes, you're going to see that we use electrical tape. And there's reasons behind it. Electrical tape it's easier. It's a stretchy tape, so it's not going to hurt the gator. It doesn't have much stickiness. A lot of times what we'll do is we'll do sticky side up, and then we wrap the tape, and then we spin it back to have the sticky side down again and wrap over that tape, because we don't want that chemical on the jaws of the gator. And also it stretches a little bit so the gator doesn't have it clamped down so tight, so it does have a little bit of a give. In this episode, you're going to notice that we use clear electrical tape. Now, this is not electrical tape that we are using. A little tidbit is it is hockey tape. Now, this this clear hockey tape, it's usually used to when you're playing hockey, you use it to put around your pants and around your pads, just to kind of hold and tuck everything together. Why are we using hockey tape in this episode? Well, Scott, one of his friends, had a whole case of it that they weren't going to use. And Scott's like, looks like electrical tape, we'll use it. So we started using it. That's how we ended up using it on the show. Now, it talks about, in the episode, Jimmy's road shows. Now, Jimmy, he has been doing road shows not on his own at first. Before, he would go on road shows when he was like 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. People at the native village would, they would do road shows and they would need someone's help. Usually I would have to stay behind to do the shows and everything and open up and manage the place. So they would take Jimmy, because he was a hard worker as a kid. They would take him on the road shows, and he just fell in love with doing that. He just fell in love doing those road shows. And he also fell in love just having a wildlife, being in a wildlife facility. So they said his dream is to do road shows. Well, his dream is to do road shows, but he also wanted to eventually down the road in his life, he wanted to open up his own wildlife facility, which he is like right on the brink of doing so. I moved to Central Florida, and guess who else moved to Central Florida? Jimmy. We didn't do it on purpose, but we'll talk about that in another episode. But he's right up here as well, right around where Chris is too. This is becoming a Gator Boy hotspot. But the Gator Boy road shows that Jimmy wanted to put together for the show, he was already doing road shows before Gator Boys, and I would help him out here and there on those road shows. At the time when we first filmed the first season of Gator Boys, I wasn't full time at Holiday Park or anything. I was actually a full time working at as a plumber, and I was doing it on the weekends. So you'll notice, like in the first season, where I'm kind of guessing, I completely forgot what's on them, but I'm not in them as much because I do have a full time job, and it's not at Holiday Park, and it's at a job where you can't take off or you get fired. So I'm doing that and doing the Gator Boy thing on the weekend. And so basically, Jimmy would do his road shows, and if I could, I would try and go on those road shows with him. Later on, when I was able to work at different places where I can get off more, I ended up going on the road with Jimmy. I was on the road with Jimmy for many years, and they were just really fun times, traveling all over the country. And we've been to, at least I've been to every single state east of the Mississippi River, which is awesome, except Maine. That's the only one I didn't make it to. But we've pretty much done shows in every single state. So that was real. He dreamed about it in that episode, and we really did. We traveled doing those Gator shows everywhere. And even to this day, Jimmy still does those road shows all over the state. He's always booking at different fairs and stuff. And it's not called Gator Boys. His thing is called Scales, Tails, and Teeth. And you can look him up on Scales, Tails, and Teeth on Facebook, on the internet, and you will find his stuff. And you'll see what he's up to. And, he's up to amazing, great things. And like I said, he's getting ready to open up his own wildlife facility where you can actually visit. When that happens, it's possible I might even be there, maybe being your guide and stuff. So you never know. But yeah, his road shows are really, really awesome. Now there's a scene in there where Paul's out swimming in the water. You see the sun's going down. They were filming that for a very long time. Like, I think, if I remember right, they were filming that for like 3 or 4 hours, maybe more. And it was starting to get dark. Jimmy had other plans to go. Paul already knew that he had those plans that he had to do, but Paul just kept doing his thing and not really paying any attention. So Jimmy had to go. Paul comes back and hands the rope to Scott, and they're pulling that gator on land. Now, Paul complains that he had just Scott, and to be 100% honest, I think out of Scott and Jimmy and Paul, you really want Scott there. He's always on his game. And by the time he was filming that episode, he has already been wrestling alligators since he was a little kid. Really knows what he's doing. He was even a trapper at the time. He was a trapper before the show even came out. He was trapping gators. He would drive around his big pickup truck and go trap gators. Once in a while, I'd go with him when I had a chance. Just loved hanging out with him, doing those things. We'd go out and catch gators, just him and I, nuisance gators, and some really good times. And so you always, if you have Scott there, you got someone that has your back, and someone knows what they're doing. At the moment, you'll see Scott and Paul, they cut and tape the gator, and they're picking it up and they're carrying it to the truck, and that gator's flipping out. Now here's the thing, even if big guys holding on to gators even that size, the gator is so much stronger. He's going to flip you and throw you around everywhere. And so there's no stopping the flipping, okay? So you just kind of have to hang on and know what you need to do and how to grab it and how to move to keep going. And so you'll see that they're struggling, and you see who drops the gator, which is Paul. Paul dropped the gator, but if you watch real close, you'll see Scott's flipping his hands around, and he never loses control of that gator. Once Paul drops that gator, Scott has that tail in his hand, and it's not going anywhere. Scott's got it. So, you know, Scott's my buddy. He always has everybody's back. So if you're ever catching alligators or anything like that, you want Scott there. Scott has your back, and he knows what he's doing. Now, I was telling you about a little hiding thing, like the baldness of Paul, things like that. But there's a little sneak little quick sight. There at the end, everybody is together. Paul, Jimmy, Chris, Scott, they're all building the fence. Paul's being a jerk, calling everybody names, things like that. He thinks I don't know what he was thinking, but that's how he did it. If you watch while they're doing that, and if you watch in the background, you're going to see a guy run over there, and he grabs a chair and runs off. Okay? What is he doing with that chair? I have no idea why he moved that chair. I guess the chair wasn't in that scene before. So they tried to do, basically, they always want to make sure everything looks the same all the time. And that guy that ran that chair out of place is our producer. All right, his name is Eric, and I'm gonna say that producer, we became really, really good friends, and he's probably one of the best reality or any kind of producer out there. Really good guy, knows his stuff. You know, you just gotta listen to him and go with his plans because, yeah. Sometimes his plans were a little weird. You kind of have to like try to redirect a little bit, but he was really good at what he did. And if it wasn't for him, Gator Boys probably would have never went anywhere. He just knew how to just get it done just right, and how to rile Jimmy and Paul up just right for them to, you know, go at each other like little chihuahuas or something, you know. So what happened in that episode, they're complaining and bitching about the road shows and things like that. So that did go on quite a bit. So they would put us against each other sometimes, but it was a good episode. It brought back a lot of memories, and you know, it's really it was some fun times. So that's pretty much for this video. If you haven't watched that episode already, go and watch it. If you don't know how to watch it, I probably should have put this at the beginning. I'll do it on a second video. But right now, there's I'm filming it with my phone, so I can't show you on my phone. But there's like a channel app called Discovery Plus. And right now it's on Discovery Plus. Sometimes you can buy the episode on Amazon Prime. I know it's on Amazon Prime, and it's on Discovery Plus right now. So you can go on Discovery Plus and go on there, and they have all the seasons on there. That's where I'm watching it right now on Discovery Plus. And I'm going to try and do this, at least maybe try to do this once a week. See what, you know, see if you guys like it. You know, if you guys don't like it, let me know if I get enough. Like, no, we're done hearing Gator Boys. It's horrible. You know, let me know and I'll stop it. But for now, I'm going to just keep doing it because it's kind of fun going down memory lane. So this was a good episode, and hope you guys enjoyed it. If you enjoyed it, hit that like button. Hit the subscribe button because I don't have that many subscribers. I got one. Okay, so far I got one subscriber, but click on that, hit the subscribe button. Also, hit that like button, and there's a share button hit the share button and share it with your friends. Share it with people, especially if they're fans of Gator Boys. It's kind of get to learn a little bit about behind the scenes, and I kind of have some ideas of what I want to talk about in certain things. So we're going to see where this road leads us. And with that said, folks, see you out in the wild.